All right, so we have just finished the final boss of Act 10. We just ended up killing Kitava. It brings us back to Orioth. We talked to both these characters here. Talk to all of these NPCs. Oh, we get a book of skill. That's nice. Let's sell this item so we get some space. Kitava reward, get the passive skill. This gives us 2 passive skills. So we get 2 points. Let's figure out where we build next. Okay, so we can go 1, 2 across. Let's do that. 1, 2 across. Good. Talk to Innocence. Talk to Sin. Level up our gem. And then we talk to Lily Roth and we set sail from Orioth. And this will bring us to the Karui shores. Face down, like always. We're just a bunch of laziness. Get up here, and we're going to... So I've already completed this, but there's going to be an NPC here that you're going to talk to. And then once you talk to this NPC, they're going to want you to go to Lily Roth over here. And you talk to Lily Roth. You can't use your abilities here. So Lily Roth there. We can invite her to our hideout by doing this if we want to. That's a great option. And we're going to run this way, go through this cave entrance. And this is where we will find the endgame items. So the whole point, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but the whole point of the endgame system is to, you're going to get maps, and the maps you get will be dependent on what modifiers are on them. So we're going to have to talk to Commander Kirak. I've already done this, so it makes it a little difficult to sort of work on things, but essentially you're going to get a map, I believe a blue map. So let's imitate this really quick. We're going to get a map that we choose, splitting scriptorium map, and so what we'll do is we will input this map into the map device. Don't worry about any of these things up here. These are just League mechanics. We have 3 different atlas trees that we get. We get 1 atlas tree when we start, 1 atlas tree when we complete 50 maps, and then another atlas tree when we complete 100 maps. So basically what we'll be doing is we'll be putting this in the map device right here, and these modifiers will be telling us like how powerful the enemies are. And level 1 tiers compared to level 16 tiers, they could have the exact same modifiers. The only thing is level 1 tiers will have something like, let's say for example, there was, oh, you know what? Let's add another modifier here, and then maybe we can explain things. Okay, so this is a great explanation here. So the second modifier we have is going to say players gain 30% reduced flash charges. And this is for map tier 1. Now, a map tier level 8, which is 7 tiers higher, will possibly have the exact same modifiers, except the ranges will be a lot larger. So instead of saying players gain 30% reduced flash charges, it might say players gain 60% reduced flash charges. So the modifiers can be more drastic. They can be more extreme. So do pay attention to the flask charges. And there will be a couple of things that as this character, as a physical damage character, that we will not be able to do. And a good way of figuring this out is to go to poe.re, and it's a regex. Basically means it's the map modifiers. So we will look for map modifiers that the ones we will not do, the ones we cannot do, if they have a modifier on here with these descriptions, we will not be able to do it. And the reason why is because either our defenses will be really low, they will reflect a certain amount of damage that we deal, or they cannot be leeched from. And we get all of our health regen and mana regen from leeching. Having lower resistances means we take more damage based off of the spell that was done to us. And then reflecting a certain amount of damage means that when we deal damage, we receive a certain percentage of that damage. And we could essentially walk into an area with a reflect number. It could say reflects 5% of the damage. But if we do 5 million damage, 5% of 5 million will still kill us in one hit. So we have to be aware of the modifiers that are happening on here. And one thing I use Awakened PoE Trade for is this. We will pull out this map device here. And what I like to do is I like to get a stash tab. That's called Maps Check. And what I do is I put a map in here. This could be a fourth one too. It doesn't have to be a large one like this. So let's take a look at something like this, right? So we have a stash tab. We have maps this. And then what you do is you hold shift and you push spacebar. And it pulls up this gray screen around everything else. And there's something called map rolling up here. We'll go to edit. It'll bring down this option here. There will already be a couple of options in here already. I recommend just exiting out of them so that they don't apply. And what we'll do is we will go to the regex. We'll search in a modifier. Reflect. Okay, so we don't want reflect physical damage. We'll enable that. We don't want maximum resistance lowered. So we'll enable that. We don't want regenerate life. We don't want players cannot regenerate life. We don't want less recovery rate of life and energy shield. And we don't want monsters can be leeched from. There's a lot of other ones here that it can be. As you can see, these are all the different mods that it can have. It says, I don't want any of these mods. And then it says, I want these mods. So if we're looking for a specific mod to choose from, we can choose from this list. Here's Kirak missions as well. Kirak missions are a little different, but the very basic parts of the epilogue are going to be these maps. And to make things easy, at the start, you don't have to worry about this. So don't worry if this is a little overwhelming or confusing. We don't have to worry about this because the map modifiers will not be that large. But getting into higher level maps, let's take a look and see if I can find something. Something like this, for example. Right, so this is what we're going to be doing. It's just got 2 modifiers, not a big deal, we can read it. But this one has a lot of different modifiers. And if we have 5 or 6 maps that we want to do, and if we don't use that skill for shift space, if we don't use the regex for this, then what'll happen is we'll have to go through each line individually to make sure that it doesn't have any of those modifiers we don't want. Okay? So it can be a little bit intimidating to have to go through each individual item in order to choose, okay, this isn't going to work for me. This is going to be something a little bit bad. So what we do is we hold shift and hit space. We go to map rolling. I named mine bleed lacerate. You can name it right down here. This is the regex that shows me the maps I do not want. We'll hit save, and then we'll hit bleed lacerate. And when it outlines it in this orange gold, this will tell me that these are maps I can do without those modifiers on it. If it's grayed out, it'll tell me that one of the regexes, any of the mods that I selected here, one of these is on this map. So I can't do anything about it. So this is a way to sort of, you put a bunch of maps in here, and then you hit shift space, you go to map rolling, you click on bleed lacerate, and it will label or circle or square the maps that it recommends you do. Okay? I know it's a little bit confusing at the very start, but just know this feature will be very helpful later on when you get into tier 15s, tier 16s, and even tier 17 maps. The further up the map tiers you go, the more modifiers will be on those maps. And a good way of checking if you've done a map before is to hold left alt when you're mousing over it, and it'll say Atlas map complete and bonus objective complete. And there's two different objectives to complete when you're doing a map. The Atlas map will let you know that you have finished that map, you have done that map before, and the bonus objective will give you a skill point. Now wait, what do you mean a skill point? Do you mean like these skill points? No, I don't mean these skill points at all. We have an entirely new tree for the Atlas map. If you push G as in gopher, or G as in golf, it'll populate your Atlas map. You probably won't see any of these items up here. You'll probably only see maybe one item here, maybe one item here, maybe not any of these items, right? But these will be all the maps that are in the endgame. This is essentially what the endgame is in Path of Exile. We'll be running these maps. They're all different locations, and we'll have different versions of them. We'll have different modifiers on them, and we have to complete a map. We have to complete every single map that is done. 115 is what's required to complete them all, the bonus objectives. You can see I am 11 maps away from finishing this tree. And this was all done on my main character, who is this same class. And I've gotten all of this done. So it is possible to even do the Void Stones as well. Void Stones are essentially milestones for defeating bosses, endgame bosses. So at the start, you're gonna get level 1 tiers. So we'll have to kill a boss of magic or higher version of this map. So for an example, doing this one at level 1 will give you Atlas map complete and bonus objective complete. But if we did, let's see here. Let me try to figure something out and show something. But if we did, say, for example, have this gray map here, right? Because it's a tier 15, at certain milestones, you need to use different currency on those maps in order to get the credit for your completion. I've got both completed here on this one, but what's required is you can't just use an Orb of Transmutation. You're not going to be able to just use this to get the bonus map objective. For higher maps, for tier 11, through tier 16, you'll have to do exactly what this says here. Kill a boss of corrupted rare version of this map. So there's 3 different rarities. There's magic rarity, which is this, Orb of Transmutation. There is a rare item, which is Orb of Alchemy. And then there's the Vaal Orb, which will corrupt an item. So we have magic item, rare item, and corrupted item. And for these final maps, tiers 11 through tier 16, we'll have to make the map rare by using a Orb of Alchemy on it. And then we'll have to use a Vaal Orb on that map. So then we can complete it and get the bonus objective. And the very start from maps 1 through 5, it'll be just a blue map. All we need to complete is a blue map. So something like this, tier 1, is what is necessary. Once we finish the boss, we'll get our bonus point for it. The moment we get into tier 6, the yellow maps here, as you can see, they're a yellow color. That's why they're called yellow maps. We'll have to make them rare in order to get the points. So blue magic will no longer be acceptable to get the bonus point, to get our Atlas point for it. And once we complete the bonus point for it, then we get another Atlas point for it. And then we'll have to find another map to do the same thing on. And going from tier 6 to tier 10 is going to be just rare maps. So just using Orb of Alchemy on the maps themselves to get the extra bonus point. And when we go from 11 to 16, they have to be rared by an orb of Alchemy, and then you have to use a Vaal Orb on them as well. And Vaal Orbs, it says corrupts an item, modifying it unpredictably. And there's 4 different things that can happen with a Vaal Orb. It can do nothing, so it'll just corrupt the item that has a modifier on it. So something like this, for example, it has the chance for, if I use this Vaal Orb on this map, there are 4 different outcomes that can come from it. It has a 25% chance to not do anything, to just corrupt it. Has a 25% chance to change the map. Has a 25% chance to change all affixes on the map. And a 25% chance to reduce the rarity to make it blue or make it a normal map. So that's why Endgame people want to get to so quickly, because it takes a long amount of time in order to get through all of the different maps. Now, what am I talking about when I talk about whoops. What am I talking about when I'm talking about whoops. What am I doing here? There we go. What do I mean when I'm talking about Atlas points? So, through the campaign, we came in contact with a couple of different league mechanics. We didn't do any of those league mechanics because when you initially get to your Atlas passive tree, it's going to seem very daunting. Just like when we first started the game, there was an enormous skill tree. There were so many different options to choose from. And it can be very daunting looking at that skill tree. Now, don't get overwhelmed when I'm about to show this, but this is the Atlas skill tree. it's the same sort of mind reference of there's all of these different points. I don't know which one I'm going to go into. I don't know what looks fun. And that's going to take some time. You're going to have to either A, look at some videos online about what the mechanics are. You're going to have to trial and error some different things if you want to do that. Or you can just go through and have a basic, generic sort of map device or map choices. And as you can see down here, it says 113 points, Atlas points acquired. It says over or right underneath the Atlas skill points acquired, it says Atlas objectives 104. And that coincides with this number that we have here. So we have 104 maps completed, and because we have 104 maps completed, it means we get 104 skill points. We get more skill points depending on if we do such as Maven invitations, which are explained a little bit later, and Pinnacle Eldritch bosses, which are also explained a little bit later. So there's a grand total of 132 skill points that you can get for the Atlas. But what this will do is it will enable you to choose something that you enjoy doing in the game, and it will allow you to focus all of your attention on that specific type of mechanic. So an example of something like that would be essences. I explained what essences were. I believe in Act 2, we went through, Act 6, we went through Act 1 again, and we went to the Dweller of the Deep, and he was imprisoned in that case of ice. And that's what essences are. Now, there's going to be mini points like this. There's going to be major points like this. And there's going to be even more major points like this. So an example of something like that is Prolific Essence. It says your maps contain an additional imprisoned monster. So I'm guaranteeing more effects in my maps to contain another essence monster. So personally, I enjoy doing essences. I like the essence items that I get. It's a good crafting material. It's a good way to start off. But going through the area, you can also find these nodes here. And these are the nodes that are going to completely remove mechanics from your maps. If you don't put any points in here, you're going to start seeing all of the different mechanics in your maps that you play. And think of maps as sort of like the campaign. We went to one zone, we tried to make it to the end to kill the boss. Once we killed the boss, we left the zone and went into another zone and rinse and repeat. We kept doing that over and over and over. And that's kind of the same idea here. Except with these notes, with these points here, you can completely remove those mechanics. So a good example of this, it says your maps have no chance to contain breaches. Breaches are another mechanic. So scarabs found in your maps cannot be breached scarabs. Your maps have a 2% chance to contain other extra content that can be turned off through Atlas passives. Another one I have, it says your maps have no chance to contain the Sacred Grove. Sacred Grove is another League mechanic. It says your maps have a no chance to contain a Legion encounter. Legion encounters is another League mechanic. Right? And then on this side, your maps have no chance to contain Ritual Altars. Ritual Altars are another League mechanic. As well as Ultimatum encounters. Ultimatum encounters are another League mechanic. And also Rogue Markers, Contracts, and Blueprints. These are all individual League mechanics that were once the basis of one League. And they've included them into the Endgame So if you really enjoy doing one of those types of mechanics and one of those types of leads, you could focus and hone in and do more of that mechanic if you want. And there's no real, this is the best one, this is the worst one. People will have opinions on different mechanics that they want to do, but ultimately it comes down to what you find to be the most fun. There's going to be a ton of different mechanics. Every single little node here will have a mechanic tied to it. You can have shrines, for example. You can have shrines to be, this is a great one. 30% increased effect of shrine buffs on player maps, and shrines in your maps grant an additional random shrine effect. So when we find a shrine on the ground, we pick it up, and instead of just getting one shrine effect, we get two. So it'll make our character a lot stronger. We can also do, like, a good example of this is I really enjoy Blight. Blight for me is sort of like a tower defense, and it's a mechanic that I really thoroughly enjoy. So I've invested, you can see here, these options that are being lit up. You know, we've got 4 of them. We've got one at the bottom down here. We've got one right there where I'm pointing to. We've got another one up top there, and then we've got a final one that's where my mouse is on. And I have gotten all of these points to increase the rewards I get from doing maps and from doing these mechanics, as well as removing some of the things I don't like doing. And these could change. I could change these at any time. Just like in the passive skill tree, we have refund passives that we can remove passive skills from if we want to. Or we can remove passives here. So it looks a little daunting. I understand that. There's a lot of different choices to choose from. I understand that. But this is going to take some time initially for you as a new player to go through these league mechanics and try to figure out which one you find the most enjoying. Right? This is just my 3rd season that I've played, and I've already understood what some of the mechanics are. I know what breaches are. I know what abysses are. I know what expedition is. I know the Sacred Grove. I know Legion encounters. I know ritual altars. I know what Blight encounters are. I know what ultimatum encounters are. I know what mirrors of delirium are. And I also know what contracts, rogue markers, and blueprints are. Just from playing 3 leagues, I can already tell what items and what mechanics I really enjoy. There's some mechanics that players do only one mechanic their entire time, and that's what they focus their attention on because they enjoy doing it. Now, with that being said, this will take some time to figure out. It's not going to be something that's going to be very intuitive to understand what you're doing. But there are websites that help you with stuff like this. And a good website to go to, let's see if I can find it here. I think it's in the next one here. Oops, not that one. I think it's in this one. Maybe it isn't. Okay, so what we'll do, a good example is to pull up your internet, go in the search bar, and type in Path of Exile Atlas Mechanics. And this will give you a link to Reddit. You can read through this. That'll basically tell you what each mechanic does. What each mechanic is, what it's basically used for, how you can get items for it, different things like that. But there are something like this, PoE dash, hold on. I gotta find the right one here. I think this is it. No, that's not it. Dang it. It was one of these. Huh, it was... Let me see. Let me try to find it here for ya. I thought I had it saved, but I guess I didn't. No. You can also see all of the stats that you have. These are all the stats that I've chosen for it. These are all the stats that I have while I'm doing these maps. So these are all chances. 29% chance increased effect of explicit modifiers. 39% increased scarabs found in your maps. And what you'll want to do initially is you'll want to start building like this and getting all of these notables that give you a 2% chance for one monster in each of your maps to drop an additional connected map. And I know this is a lot, but bear with me. We're going to have all of these ant lines here. You can see these ant lines connecting one map to the next. And basically what that means is doing a Jungle Valley map, for example. If I do a Jungle Valley map enough times, I'll have a chance to drop a toxic sewer map, as well as a city square map. If I do city square a bunch of times, I'll have a good chance of dropping a toxic sewer map. But I won't be able to drop a underground sea map, because the city square map does not have ant trails connected directly to it. So you can see that you have to do different maps in order to get different other maps. And that's what you're going to be progressing through, is trying to do all of these maps here. So this map, for example, I have not done a crystal ore map. And the only way that I would go about trying to do a crystal ore map is by completing alleyways or by completing the pit. Pit map and alleyways map will unlock or drop a chance for crystal ore map to spawn. And so that will be a mechanic that we have to keep in mind moving forward. And I know this is a lot of information, but let's just go through the first map that we get. Let's go through this one here, the Scriptorium map of Drought, and take a look. So what we're going to do is we can either use this area here, which is at the epilogue. It's in the epilogue tab up here, and it's Karui Shores down here. This is where we're currently at. Or we can go to our hideout. Now, my hideout will not look the same as your hideout. This is a purchased hideout that I bought. Microtransaction. These pets roaming around are all microtransactions as well. Basically, everything you see here, other than the characters themselves, are all microtransactions. They're from supporter packs. They're from achievements, such as killing Katava, for example. And these are all things that I choose to decide upon. Now, if you're interested, you can talk to Helena, select the hideout, and these are all the different hideouts you can choose from. So there are quite a few different hideouts that you can get and design yourself. You can have a desert hideout, which is very simple. Lush hideout, I think, is one of the very first ones that you get, found in Act 2. And so this hideout that I have will not look the same as yours, and you can design it and edit it in a way that makes you feel happy, right? You go down here to the bottom, this little arrow right here, click this arrow, hit edit. It'll pull up this window that says editing, and then you hit this little chair icon, which is decorations, and it pops open these decorations. And we have a scroll bar here, and you can see there are tons and tons and tons of different items to use for this area. I can throw down this Aracali egg if I want to. And now I have an Aracali egg, and I can move it around holding left click, clicking in the inner circle here. You can move it around if you'd like to. If you click on the outer ring that's right here, it'll pull up this little line, and what this little line gives you is the orientation of where it's facing. So if I choose this way, because that's where the skull is facing towards, and I go downwards, it's going to look towards the camera. And if I choose this way and go down that way, it'll choose it down, so you can choose the orientation that you want. And there's a lot of different customization options for this. And if you don't want it, you click the item so it's highlighted, and you push delete on your keyboard. Yes, I have the Cosmic Turtle. This is the Cosmic Turtle. As you can tell, I'm a giant turtle floating in space, and it's very awesome. I love this design. Very, very cool. It's got water pouring off the sides. I don't know why there would be water pouring off the sides, but it does. It's Pandaria, he says. That's funny. There's also something. This new league came with supporter packs, and this supporter pack has something like this. That's a Vasitri Racecourse hideout. So you can add these ROAs. Oops. And we can spectate. We can watch these ROAs race around the area if we so chose to. These are all microtransactions. These are all things that do not impact the game. They do not impact the power your character has. Just gives you more options, more customization to do what you want. These are all the areas. We can see these ROAs here. I'm running around in a circle. We can go over here. We have a crafting bench. We have our NPCs all over the place here. Or if we choose, you know what? I don't enjoy this. I want to go back to what I had before. We got to find Helena right here. Hello. We hit select hideout, and we go back to the Cosmic Turtle hideout. And Jedi Pokey says that the water is turtle pee. So this must be turtle pee as well, you know, coming from the heavens, I guess. But this is basically what we're going to be doing for the maps. Now, as I mentioned, your map device will not look the same as mine. But let's go through here really quickly and just take a look at what maps will do. This is basically going to be the end game of PoE. This is where things get really complicated, a lot more complicated than what you might imagine. But we're going to put the map into our map device. We're going to make sure that we can handle the modifiers that are on the map. And then we're going to hit activate. And it's going to open these map portals to this map. Now, one thing to pay attention to is normally in, like, Diablo, for example, right? You're doing a nightmare dungeon in Diablo 4. And it gives you a amount of revives in order to complete that dungeon. let's say you get 3 revives available to your character while you're in that nightmare dungeon. This is kind of the same thing. When you die and you respawn outside of the area, and you'll have to go into a portal. The same thing applies when you go into the portal and you use a portal to get out.
Like stepping into a dream.
It will remove a portal for you because you've already entered a portal. So just like it was in the campaign, when you throw down a portal and you go back to town, and then when you go back through that portal again to where you were at, that portal is no longer there. And it works the same way here. So the whole goal at the end is to do this map in 6 tries or less. This also includes bosses. It also includes other league mechanics. If you end up dying in a league mechanic, for example, and you only have one option left here, and then you go in that last portal and you end up dying, the map is essentially bricked. You cannot get back into that map to get your spoils. So make sure that when you're in the map, you're being as efficient as possible in regards to your build. You're not dying, and you're also getting a lot of the loot. So let's go into the scriptorium and kind of show basically how everything is going to be working. So the whole point of this map now is to reduce this number up here. It says more than 50 monsters remain. When we end up finishing and killing the final boss of this map, there'll be another text that appears that says map complete. That lets us know that we've killed the main boss of this map. And the map bosses will be either unique enemies that we found in the campaign, or they'll just be really strong, rare enemies that are converted to unique enemies. So I think this enemy in the scriptorium is going to be a necromancer. And unlike, this is going to be a little confusing, I know, but unlike the campaign, we want to kill as many monsters as we can. The reason for that is because it's going to give us the highest chance of getting loot. So just like in the campaign, I know I mentioned it 5 or 6 times that we don't have to kill every single enemy. The same sort of thing applies here. But we want to kill the majority of the enemies that we have. And the reason for that, like I said, is it's going to give us the best chance at getting loot. We don't want to go through the map and only kill the map boss and then go to the next map. Let me repeat that. We do not want to go into the map and only kill the map boss. We want to try to kill all of the other monsters in there as well. Now you can see I've already killed a few enemies. It still says more than 50 monsters remain, but we have this arena here. The arena will always lead you to the boss room. So this is something you can wait to do until you're finished with all the monsters to clear out the boss. It might give you a better opportunity to get more items before you go to the boss area. But let's check this out. Let's see what this boss is. Okay, looks like it's Chevron from one of the acts that we did, right? We're just going to let our bleed do the damage here. All right. And we killed the final boss. And if we push tab, we can now see it says map complete at the top. That lets us know as a player that we've killed the map boss. Map boss is finished. So technically we can leave this area and restart a new map if we want to. But it's a good idea to get this number here. More than 50 monsters remain. We want to get that number down to where we can start seeing an impact of the amount of monsters we have. So let's go through here, kill some more enemies, and I'll talk to you. I'll let you know what I mean when we have finished killing a lot more of these enemies. Nice. Orb of Scouring, that's good. The same rules apply to the maps as they would if you're in the campaign. We're going to be letting our bleed do all the work. That's Einhar. He is another mechanic. We can invest in that mechanic if we want to. I have not invested in that mechanic. But it's something if we desire, if we enjoy the mechanic of it, we can invest into it. Oh, that's right. I was going to get an item from trade for this character. Let's do that after we're done with this. And I'll show you an item that can really increase our damage for this build. This is another league mechanic. We don't need to do this one. If we wanted to, we could. But I'm not going to, because we're just showing what the map idea is. Now, in these maps, when you first start out, you won't have the selection of choosing which maps or which mechanics you want to do. So it would be considered a good idea to do all of the league mechanics that you would come across. And that way you can learn as to which ones you find enjoyable, which ones you want to do, and which ones will be the most fun for you. So we want to explore as much of the area as we can. We want to try to kill as many monsters as we possibly can. And it still says more than 50 monsters remain on the map. So we're going to keep looking for some of these monsters. And now it says 47 monsters remain. So let's keep killing some more. It looks like the monsters are going to be in that area there. All 47 of them are going to be in here, so let's get ready for a brawl. You can see that number slowly going down as I'm killing more monsters here. We've got 20, 16, 13... Okay, we must have missed a monster somewhere, or a pack of monsters somewhere. And that's okay. We don't need to clear out every single one. It's a good idea to, but relative to how much time is going to be spent running around here looking for the monsters, compared to just getting out of this area and starting a new map, will be our choice. We can either run around here and try to find these last remaining 13 enemies, or we can just leave the map and go to a different map if we want to. Because sometimes the enemies will be just like that previous one. It'll be just one random monster in the middle of nowhere that we forgot to kill. And that will be the character that will be the monster that we're looking to get. My personal recommendation is get the number lower than 15. And if there's no more area for you to explore, then hop back out and do some more maps. So let's deposit all of these currency items. I have a tab, a microtransaction tab. If you want to get something like that, that's one of the best things to invest into. You go to shop down here at the bottom, go to stash tabs, get the currency stash tab, get the map stash tab, and then also get a premium quad stash tab. These are the 3 tabs that I recommend getting. And just last weekend, there was a sale on these stash tabs. I think they cut them by like 30%. So instead of paying, $375 for the stash tabs, we only had to pay like 29 or 28 or something like that. So it reduced it a considerable amount. And if you're curious what the numbers reference to, you can buy points from their website. And this is the way they go off of it. So just remove the previous 0, and that'll give you an indicator as to how much each point is. So 50 points is $5, 100 points is $10, 200 points is $20. So 15, this is going to be $1.5. 75 will be $7.5. Premium quad stash will be $15. This will also be $15. And do remember that this game is free. So this is how Path of Exile makes a lot of their money, is by doing these premium stash tabs and also these microtransactions for your character. So there's a lot of different microtransactions you can do for your character. You can have weapons, finisher effects. So when you, for example, when you kill an enemy, something will happen. Like that. So you can see in this video, you're killing enemies and there's a ghost that appears and smashes enemies. Right? So there's all of these different effects you can have. You can have footprints for your character. You can have different effects on your character to make it look different. So there's so many different types of microtransactions. And by no means are these microtransactions necessary for the progression of the game. Now, we've just completed our first map. We have we've gotten our atlas completed, and we're ready to get a new weapon. Now, if you're going to Path of Building, and we go to Skills and Items, we're at the 3rd Ascendancy. We've just completed the 3rd Ascendancy, and it says that it wants us to get Jack the Axe. This is a really good item for the build that we currently are playing. The reason why is because it's an axe. It gives us a great amount of physical damage, and it also gives us gives us up to 33% chance to damage over time multiplier for bleeding from hits with this weapon. And then lastly, it gives us another skill called Thirst for Blood. So what we do when we're ready to purchase this item is we go to the internet, we go to trade, we go to their pathofexile.com, we go to trade, search items, and at the top here, we're not going to have any of these things selected. None of these selected. We're going to go to the search items right here. We're going to type Jack the Axe. Or Jack, comma. Jack, comma. And we're going to select this item here. And then we go into trade filters. And we search Chaos Orb equivalent. The maximum, we go to 1. And we hit search. And this will show us for the maximum amount of 1 Chaos Orb, we're going to try to buy this item. And what we'll do is we'll hit Direct Whisper. And that will directly whisper the character in-game. And we'll wait to see if they're interested in selling it. Sometimes they don't. Do be aware that you might hit up 5 or 6 different people and they won't respond. And that's okay. That's just the way it goes. Sometimes people don't want to stop what they're doing in order to sell an item. So we'll go back to this one. We'll go to Show Filters. We'll do 2. And we'll hit search. And it looks like they're not very much. So let's exit out of this and hit search. And it will show us. Let's see. Okay. So it looks like. Let's see. So we want to try to find the highest amount of damage over time multiplier. So we'll click this item and it will auto sort by the highest amount. Obviously, 20 Divine Orb is quite a lot, although it does have another explicit modifier on there, which is very good, but we don't want that. Let's see, do we have 10 Chaos Orb to use? Looks like we don't. We only have 6 Chaos Orb. So let's go back to Show Filters, and we'll do 4. For Jack the Axe. Buyout price means Chaos Orb equivalent, and the maximum amount of orbs we're willing to spend is 4. We'll hit search, and it will pull up all of the items that are for a maximum of 4 Chaos Orbs to sell. We'll hit this damage over time multiplier because we want the highest amount for 4, and we'll look through these items. Okay, this looks like a pretty good item. So let's hit Direct Whisper. It'll automatically whisper the character in-game. And we'll wait to see if they are interested in selling it. If they're not interested in selling it, then we'll go back to the trade website and find another item. Okay, looks like this one here maybe. This says he's AFK, so let's not worry about that one. What about this one? Direct Whisper. Sent. And we'll wait to see if he... Okay, so it looks like he's interested in selling it. So we'll hit accept. And this is the etiquette for trading items. We hit accept. Then we go up here to this top, this little swirly symbol. We click the swirly symbol. Ports us to their hideout. And we wait. Wait for them to open trade with us. Hit accept. Do the 4 items there. Mouse over to make sure it's the correct item. And then hit accept. And that's all we have to do. And then we click the waypoint. And we go back to our hideout. And now we have the item that we need. This is the item that's going to increase our damage significantly. As you can see, it has all of the required stats that we need. It's got damage over time multiplier. It's got increased physical damage. It's got added physical damage. And the base damage is a lot higher than what we're currently using. So let's take a look and see how much damage this is going to do for us. So we're currently at 6108. We equip this item, and it brings us to 8,000. So this one item gives us another 2,000 more damage. And we need 2 red So we will unequip it. We'll use a chromatic orb to try to get 2 red. And there we go. We got 2 red. So we remove this. We remove that. Put that in there. And now we have another item. But the great thing about this item specifically is it grants us, the very top line says it grants level 20 Thirst for Blood skill. And if we know anything about when skills get added, they get added to the open areas that we have on our skill bar. And we can see that this right here is the name of the skill that we're getting. This, reading the description, it says reserve some of your life to cause bleeding you inflict to be stronger and grant life regeneration based on the number of bleeding enemies nearby. So it gives us 20% more damage with bleeding, which is what our entire build is based around. Applies beams to the closest 5 nearby bleeding enemies and regenerates 400 life per second for each affected enemy. So we know that when we enable this, we can see... Let me remove my face here. We can see that we have 255 reserved. Normally we have 2.544 life. So 255 is what it's going to reserve. So that's 10% of our life is 255. And because of that, we get this new axe. It increases our damage by 2,000. And this is what we're going to be using in our setup. So this is basically the correct way to have etiquette when you're trading a character, another character. You'll hit the direct whisper button here. You'll go in your game. It'll have the message sent, which will be a very generic message. You will accept the trade or accept the invitation from the person. You'll click the little blue swirly at the top, which will teleport you to their hideout or to their location, regardless of where they're at. Once you get to that location, you wait. You don't want to run up to them and trade them. They will trade you. That's the etiquette of trading in this game. When they are ready to trade, they will open trade with you. The trade will pop open. You will make sure that you have the correct number of currency available to trade them. You put that trade into the window, and then you mouse over the item that you're purchasing. And once you do that, you hit accept, and the trade completes, and you've gotten your item for the currency that you've traded. So it's a very basic way of trading items in this game. It's very generic. And that's what a lot of this is going to be based around, is trading different items in game to get your character a lot better. Now we can see, let me log out and go to my normal character. This is level 69 character. Nice. The character that I've played all League is going to be this one. I'm level 92. And I can show you what I have on my character. We're at 20,000 damage. So before, I was at 8,000 damage with this weapon. And this character, I have 20,000 damage done. And obviously, as you can see, my gear is a little different. I've got different gloves, different belt, different flasks, different boots. My resistances are all great. They're all above cap. So I have a good amount of resistances on this character. I've got positive chaos resistance, which is great. And I've got an 83% armor physical damage reduction, which is also very good. But with that being said, I am only I only have a couple of these fulfilled. So as you can see, my maps here, for example, this is the map tab. You won't have this unless you purchase the map tab, the map stash tab. But something like this shows me that my Atlas bonus is complete for all of these because it has this little yellow bar underneath it. But for something like this, I don't have it completed. So I have to find a connecting map, a map that also connects to Arcade and also connects to the Ashen Wood map. And the way that I would do that is I would type in here, and it would give me the location of it. And I would have to either do a beach map, an infested valley map, a courthouse map, or a temple map in order to get my Ashen Wood map. So then I could do a rare version of it and then corrupt that map as well. And that will give me the opportunity to get another skill point. It'll raise this number to 105. And that's what I'm looking to do. That is what you'll be doing in the end game. So this is where a lot of the customization comes in to this game. It gives you a lot of different options to do a bunch of different things. You'll have to run these maps. The maps can be very profitable. They can be not as profitable. But the whole point is to get your Atlas point so you can go into the select mechanic that you want to go into. And there are mechanics, for example, to do bosses. So if you want to have a character that, for example, that can clear maps as efficiently as possible, you're going to want to choose selections on here which enable that. Or if you want to have a character that can do bosses as efficient as possible. Because bosses have their own drop tables. They drop different uniques, and those uniques can roll a lot of different numbers. And because of that, there are characters that are specifically made to clear maps as quick as possible. And there's characters that are made to be the most efficient bosser. So that means there's one type of a build that does mapping very well, and there's another type of a build that does killing bosses extremely well included to that. So I know this is quite a lot. I understand that this is quite a lot, but some research for you as a new player, what you can do when you get to this point is go on the internet and look up different mechanics and try to read about them and watch videos about what type of mechanics there are for this game. Different leagues, for example, that have been previously long past, and they've included them into the game. Different things like that will give you an understanding as to what is going to be the best route for you. And with that, that completes our Atlas video for the Path of Exile beginner's walkthrough. I know this video has been a lot of information. It is very overwhelming to look at this tree and think, holy crap, what am I going to invest into? I have no clue what to do. I don't want to just randomly choose stuff and not understand what I'm doing. And there's a lot of good websites out there that give you a lot of different understandings as to what you're going to be doing. So let's see here. There's a specific... Okay, this is what I was trying to reference earlier. PoE-atlas.com. This will give you one of the builds for the desired guides. League Start, I definitely recommend doing this one. for League Start. You can click link to the Atlas tree, and it will pull up all of these, all of the skill points right here. And there's not too many that need to be chosen, but you need to follow it as you followed the guide in the path of building, right? So it's the same sort of layout. You get 1 point, you put it here, you get another point, you put it there, third point, fourth point, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, whatever, however you want to go about it. But this is recommended for the League Start. The recommended League Start Atlas tree is what this is showing. This is going to give you the most bang for your buck. It's going to have maps that have a higher chance of getting a next tier map, which is what you want. You don't want to keep getting the same tiers. You want to keep going higher. This one as well is going to give you a chance to get a higher tier map. This is going to give you more shrines, better effects of shrines. Shrines are guarded by at least one magic monster pack. This one here will make it so your maps cannot be modified by fragments. Fragments you can do a little bit more investigation into. They are essentially non-map items that can be used in a map device. This says scarabs cannot be found in your maps, but it also gives you 20 Atlas passive points. So it gives you a much broader range of different things you can do. So I'll put this website in the description below so we can see exactly what to do if you want to. But this gives you different options. This gives you different mechanics. Harvest is a mechanic. Legion is a mechanic. Torment is a mechanic. Scarabs are mechanics. Delirium, Breach, Abyss, Blight, Essence, Boss Killers, Expedition and Scarabs, Map Progression, Kirak and Shrines. These are all a lot of different mechanics that are involved in the end game of Path of Exile. So there is a lot of information here, but there is also a lot of information about all of this stuff on the internet. So when you get to this point, I highly recommend do a little research on which mechanic you think would be the most fun. And you can either do what I do and try out every single one yourself and try to figure out which one you think will be the most fun for you and your class and your build. Or you can go to a website like this, poe.atlas.com, and it will give you a lot of recommendations, right? Here are all the recommendations that it has for you. These are all, like I said, all different mechanics. Shows you how to obtain Atlas passive skill points if you're curious about obtaining passive skill points. So this is going to be it. This is the end of the video for the Atlas walkthrough. If you stayed this long with me, thank you very much for watching the video. It really makes a world of a difference to me. If you think I earned a subscription for doing all of this, then please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment. I respond to all comments that are in the video. And if you have any questions about anything, you're more than welcome to come by the Twitch stream. I'm usually streaming Monday through Thursday, usually starting around 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, sometime in the morning, around then. But like I said, try to understand, try to absorb some of this information because it is a lot. And dependent on which build you make, which build you're playing, it will have different strengths and weaknesses for doing different things in here. So, with that being said, thank you all again for watching. I really appreciate you guys. You make a world of a difference for me. And I hope you enjoy the end game in Path of Exile. Remember to stay sane, Exile. We'll see you later.